Hey there. Before we dive in, this is not a history lesson. It is not a tale of heroes, nor a record of glory. This is a story built from salt, stitched with lies, soaked in the blood of those who never made it to the shore. If you've ever dreamed of sailing under a black flag, of shouting into the wind with a blade in your teeth, this is your warning. You would not survive a day. But maybe, if you listen closely, you'll understand why some of us chose to die at sea rather than live on land, and why, even now, the ocean still whispers our names. You wake up choking on your own spit. It's not a graceful beginning. There's no gentle morning light, no birdsong, no warm sheets. Just salt. Salt in your mouth, in your nose, on your skin. Everything tastes like you licked the inside of a dead oyster. You open your eyes. Darkness. Not darkness like nighttime in your bedroom. This is the kind of darkness that feels like it's pressing against your eyeballs. It smells like old socks soaked in fish brine and smoked over rotting wood. The air is damp, wet, too wet. Your clothes are soaked. So is your hair. So is the floor. So is the ceiling. Somehow everything around you is both leaking and sweating at the same time. And then there's movement. The ship rocks, gently. You feel your stomach roll, your head throb. Something above groans. Something below sloshes. Everything creaks. Welcome to the Mercy. You don't know how long you've been here. You barely remember how you got here. There was a tavern, maybe. A promise. A rope around your wrists? No. They said you signed something. Voluntarily. You think. You move to sit up and immediately smack your forehead against a low beam. It feels like the ship hit you back. You curse under your breath, but the air is so stale it swallows your words before they reach your lips. Your bed is a pile of rotting sailcloth that someone kindly donated to mold. There's a rat near your left boot, chewing something crunchy. You pray it's not bone. You shift your weight, and something under you squelches. You don't want to know what it is. You reach for your boots. One is damp. The other is wetter. They both smell like last week's death. You shake out a fat spider and a small crab from the left one. The crab might be alive. It might also be a hallucination. You don't have the energy to care. You wedge your feet in. The leather clings to your skin like a second, more disappointed layer. Every toe protests, but you stand. Sort of. Your knees crack. Your back twinges. You're 20 years old, and you feel 90. The ladder to the main deck is just 5 steps up. You climb slowly, carefully. Each rung a gamble. The rope's frayed. The wood's slick. You slip twice, but don't fall. That's a win. When your head breaches the top, the world explodes. Sunlight, salt, shouting. The sea spreads out in every direction, endless, burning, alive. The wind hits you like a slap from an angry god. The sails above groan like dying whales, tugging on ropes that stretch taut like nerves. The deck is chaos, not wild, but disciplined chaos. Pirates, dozens of them, working like ants that know the queen bites. Someone yells, "Oi, limps up!" You have a name. You think. But here you're limp. You limped once. 3 weeks ago. That's all it took. The deck is slick. You step onto it and nearly eat wood. Someone laughs. Someone else spits. You straighten yourself just in time for a mop to be shoved into your hands. The handle is splintered. The head is worse. "Deck's not gonna swab itself," growls a man with no eyebrows and a scar that splits his nose like a canyon. You nod. You swab. Welcome to the morning shift. The Mercy is smaller than it looks from the dock. That's the first thing you notice after the smell, which is hard to describe. Imagine sweat, seaweed, unwashed men, spilled grog, dead fish, burning rope, wet leather, and regret all left to ferment together in a wooden box under the sun. That's the Mercy's perfume. She's a pirate sloop, 2 masts, low profile, fast. She was probably a merchant vessel once, until someone killed the crew and painted over the name. She leaks. Constantly. Like she's tired of existing. The crew is 28 strong, give or take whoever fell overboard last night. You don't know most of their names. You don't want to. People don't last long enough for names here. There's the quartermaster Garrick. Big man. More scars than skin. He likes yelling. There's the cook Gut Bucket. He smells like he's pickled from the inside out. There's the boy No Ears. He's 12, maybe. You think he's been here longer than anyone else. And then, there's the captain. You haven't spoken to him. No one really does. He only speaks when something needs to die. He wears a long coat and never blinks. You think he's missing a finger, but he never removes his gloves. Some say he was marooned once and clawed his way off the island. Others say he's just mad. Either way, when he walks by, people shut up. You swab the deck. Again. And again. There's dried blood near the forecastle. Could be animal. Could be human. Could be lunch. You clean it anyway. Your stomach growls. You haven't eaten since yesterday's dinner. Boiled fish paste, and 1 chunk of what Gut Bucket swore was bread. You're not sure what it was, but it squeaked. You're handed a cup. It's lukewarm water. Kind of. Tastes like it sat in a boot. There's something green floating in it. You sip it anyway. Hydration is hydration. Someone slaps your back. Hard. Still standing? It's Knox, the first mate. She's missing half her teeth and wears a sash made from someone else's flag. Barely, you say. Then you're ahead of schedule. She smirks, then walks off to yell at someone else. You return to swabbing. The sun climbs. Your shirt clings. Your skin burns. By midday, you feel half dead, which ironically means you're fitting in. You hear a shout from the crow's nest. Sail on the horizon. You freeze. The crew springs into motion. Ropes, sails, weapons. Everything moves at once. Your first day, and already a chase. Sail, starboard side. The words slam through the air like cannon fire. Every sound on the ship freezes. The creaking, the swabbing, the distant muttering, all of it stops. Then, like a spark in dry straw, the ship ignites with motion. Men sprint across the deck, leaping over coils of rope. Orders barked. Boots slam wood. The air thickens with adrenaline. You blink once and suddenly you're surrounded by chaos. You have no idea what to do. You've been on this ship less than a day, and now there's talk of battle. Real battle. Cannonballs, cutlasses, blood. You feel your throat go dry. Drier than the hardtack, drier than the cook's sense of humor. A hand grabs your shoulder. It's Garrick, the quartermaster. You! Rope line 3. Move! He snarls, his breath sour and loud in your ear. You don't even know what rope line 3 is, but you nod, and you run. Around you, men are tying down barrels, checking powder charges, loading flintlocks, sharpening blades. The whole ship transforms before your eyes, from a floating slum to a floating weapon. You fumble with the rope, it's stiff, salt-worn, heavy. You wrap it once, twice around a post, pretending you know what you're doing. Garrick passes again, and this time doesn't hit you. That's the closest thing to praise you've had all day. The wind picks up, the sails fill, the ship leans, creaking like it's in pain. Up in the crow's nest, a voice calls again. Still no colors, no flag. Everyone shares looks. That's bad. A ship without colors is either very stupid or very dangerous. You rush to the starboard rail and squint. And there it is, far on the horizon. Small, sharp, sleek, white sails full. No markings, no nation. Just moving, not away, but across. Angled, tempting. Merchant? Someone mutters. Too fast, says another. She's bait, growls Gutbucket. That word hangs heavy in the air. Bait. The captain appears. No one sees where he comes from. He just materializes near the helm like a curse. He raises one hand, points at the sail. 1 point to windward, he says, low and final. No debate, no discussion. No one asks if it's wise. The Mercy tilts again. The chase begins. Wind slaps your face. The deck groans beneath you. Every sail snaps with tension. The ropes tremble under your hands. You're told to hold a cleat and not let go. You don't even know what a cleat is until someone shouts and points at it. You nod. Grab it. Hang on. Behind you, 2 men are dragging a cannon into position. They grunt and strain as the wheels catch on uneven planks. Powder is fetched. Shot is readied. A wick is tested. Someone drops a ramrod. They all laugh nervously. You try to focus on the horizon. The other ship is closer now. Not enough to see faces, but close enough to feel it. The threat, the possibility, the inevitability. The man next to you whispers, "You ever seen blood boil on a hot deck?" You stare at him. He smiles. Hope not. Smells worse than the rats. Someone starts humming low, rhythmic, haunting. It spreads like a contagion, each man adding a voice, like it's the only thing keeping them from screaming. You wish they'd scream instead. "Cannon to ready position!" shouts Garrick. The iron mouth rolls into place. You've never seen a cannon this close. It's chipped and pitted, like it survived 10 other ships before this one. Smoke-stained, tied with ropes that look older than you. You're given a cloth. "Keep that mouth clean," someone says. You blink. The cannon's mouth? Aye. Wipe it. Ram it. Don't ask. Just do. You do. The wood is hot. Already. The metal smells like oil and pain. Suddenly, there's a thud from above. They look out again. They're turning. Still no colors. Closing fast. Why would they turn? Why would they come closer? No one knows. No one likes it. "Ready round shot," bellows Garrick. The men around you move like muscle memory. Bags of powder, wads, iron balls the size of your head. Everything smells like sulfur and fear. You wipe your palms on your shirt. They're already soaked. Not from sea spray. Not this time. The captain walks past again. Still silent. His eyes scan the horizon like he's reading a book, only he understands. You want to ask him what he sees. But no one talks to the captain. He stops near the cannon, lowers his hand. That's it. That's the order. The fuse is lit. Time slows. The hiss of the fuse is louder than the wind, louder than the sails. You watch the fire travel down like a snake. Then, boom. The deck kicks. Your ears ring. Smoke floods the air. You cough, stumble, blink against the burn. The shot flies. You don't see where it lands, but everyone stares, waiting, watching. The other ship doesn't return fire. Not yet. Instead it turns. Broadside. Sails dip. The hull reveals its side. And their markings. At last. But not a flag. Paint faded. White bones across black. You hear a voice say what you're all thinking. They're pirates. Gutbucket spits. No, they're worse. And suddenly, you're no longer the predator. You're the prey. It shouldn't be this quiet. Not now. Not with a skull and crossbones staring at you across the water. But the deck is still. Every pirate, even the loud ones, even the drunk ones, has gone silent. You hear the wind in the rigging, the sea licking the hull, the creak of tension in every rope and plank. No one moves. The enemy ship has turned, broadside exposed, black hull gleaming like tar. And there, faded but unmistakable, is the symbol you hoped never to see. Bones. White. Crossed. Grinning. You didn't know paint could feel like a threat. They don't fly a flag. They don't need to. The symbol is enough. It's not just warning, it's a statement. We don't ask. We take. We kill. Someone behind you whispers. They're raiders. Cannibal crew. I heard they eat the weak. Another spits. No. Worse. They take you. Keep you alive. Your stomach curls. You grip the rail until your knuckles go white. Salt spray hits your lips. You taste fear. Or maybe it's your own sweat. And then, they fire. There's no warning, no horn, no word. Just a sudden, tearing thunder. The enemy ship shudders, and the sea erupts in smoke and flame. The cannonballs hit like gods in a rage. One smashes into the mast just above your head. Wood explodes. Splinters rain down like knives. You hit the deck, instinct screaming. Another shot punches through the forecastle. A man standing there disappears, just gone. One moment yelling, the next a smear. The ship groans under the blow. She lurches. You slide across the deck, crashing into a coil of rope. The air is hot, thick with smoke and panic. Someone screams. Then another, and another. You sit up, dazed. Your ears ring. There's blood in your mouth, not yours. You don't know whose. Garrick stumbles past. Half his shirt is burned away. His arm hangs useless. He doesn't look at you. He's screaming orders or curses or prayers. Your hands shake. Your legs won't move. Then someone grabs you. Knocks. The first mate. Her face is smeared with soot. Her eyes are wild. Get below. Powder hold. Fetch charges. You stammer. I don't. She slaps you. Hard. Pain explodes across your cheek. No time, Limp. Move. Your body obeys before your brain does. You run. Trip. Skid. Down the stairs. Into the bowels of the ship. Smoke follows. So does screaming. The powder room is chaos. Barrels overturned. Sacks torn open. Sparks in the air from a fallen lantern. You skid to a stop. A man is on the floor, moaning. His leg gone, just a stump and blood and cloth. Another pirate old blind in one eye shoves a small barrel into your chest. Top deck, port cannon 6. Go. It's heavy, too heavy. You nearly drop it, but your legs are moving again. Back up, back through the smoke, through voices crying, "Reload! Reload!" You emerge into a different world. The deck is on fire in 3 places. Gutbucket is using seawater from a barrel to douse the blaze, his arms black with soot. Someone, maybe no ears, is vomiting over the side. You race to port cannon 6. 2 men are there. One's loading, the other bleeding. You drop the barrel. Powder! You yell. The loader grabs it, shoves it into place. Then they pull you close. You're ramming. Take this, ram it in. They hand you a pole. You look at it like it's a snake. Do it! Someone screams. You move. Shove the rod in. Ram. Pull. Repeat. Your arms are jelly. Your lungs are ash. Your face is soaked with sweat and smoke. Then, light. A fuse. A flash. The boom. You scream, but no sound comes out. The recoil knocks the cannon back. It crushes the leg of the man beside you. He shrieks, topples. You drop the ramrod. Try to help. But blood. So much blood. You press your hands. It slips through. He looks at you. His eyes are wide. He says something. You can't hear it. You lean in. He mouths it again. Tell my wife. You don't know his name. You didn't know he had a wife. He dies anyway. The captain appears. Still calm. Still deadly. He walks through the smoke like it's morning mist. Points to the wheel. Garrick, arms still limp, obeys. Turns hard. The Mercy groans. Turns away. They're retreating. You hear someone shout, "We runnin'?" And Knox shouts back, "We surviving?" The next few minutes are a blur. Fire. Smoke. Groaning wood. Sailors on the deck. Blood pooling in cracks. The enemy ship fading into the mist. Maybe they didn't follow. Maybe they got bored. You sit down. On the deck, next to a broken plank. Near a cannonball still warm. You try to breathe. Your hands are shaking. Your lips are cracked. Your ears are ringing. And you're alive. Somehow. But someone else isn't. He died next to you. You never learned his name. Silence is louder after cannon fire. The Mercy limps through the water now. Her sails, once proud, hang in shreds. Her deck is splintered, blood-streaked, burned in spots. Bits of old rope still smolder. The other ship is gone. Swallowed by mist, or mercy, or madness. No one knows which. No one speaks it aloud. You're still sitting. Same spot. Same stain. Same sky. Above you. Empty and judgmental. Someone walks past, dragging a leg. Another holds their arm tight to their chest like it might fall off. The deck looks like it was chewed up and spit back out. You're not sure the ship will last the night. You're not sure you will either. Time slips strangely after blood is spilled. Seconds feel like hours. Hours feel like they might never end. Gutbucket slaps a bucket beside you. Clean or choke. The water is red. The rag is stiff. You get to work. You scrub dried blood from the boards. One patch, sticky and dark, smells sweet. Too sweet. Like rotting fruit. You gag. Keep going. Next to the mast, someone picks teeth out of a pile of ash. No one talks about it. You pass by a boot with a foot still in it. Someone kicks it overboard without ceremony. That was the man who died next to you. You still don't know his name. No one else seems to, either. There's no funeral. Just weight and water. The bodies are lined up. 4 of them, wrapped in torn canvas, tied with rope. No prayers, no hymns, just tired hands and tired eyes. They roll them off the edge one by one. Splash, splash, splash. You wait for someone to say something. No one does. Not even the captain. You look around expecting grief. You find only routine. This isn't the first time. Won't be the last. You realize, slowly, horribly, someday they'll roll you off the side just like that. and no one will say your name. Back below deck, the air is thicker than before. Smoke has seeped into the wood, into the fabric, into your lungs. You lie back in your sack of mold and misery, staring at the beams above. There's movement in the shadows. The rat is back. Same one, maybe. Same beady eyes. Same flick of the tail. It watches you. You don't chase it away. You don't even flinch. At least it's alive. You watch it nibble at a scrap of something unidentifiable. Then, slowly, it creeps toward your boot, climbs on top, settles there. You're too tired to move. You fall asleep with a rat as your roommate. You wake to coughing. Not yours. Someone is hacking, deep and wet, in the corner. You hear spitting, liquid hitting wood. Then, a quiet curse. A match flares. For a second, you see a face, pale, sunken, blood under the nose. The match dies. Darkness returns. The man coughs again, louder, shaking. He sounds like he's drowning. You wonder if it's the plague, or just the ship. Then a voice, low, sharp, commanding. The captain. You didn't hear him come down. He just appears, like fog, like fate. Report, he says. Garrick, bandaged and burnt, speaks between grunts. 2 dead by cannon, 2 more from splinters, 6 wounded, 1 missing. The captain nods. Ship? 3 holes, 1 serious. We lost the foreboom. Supplies? Garrick hesitates. We'll be rationing. The captain says nothing. Then, they're watching. Garrick stiffens. Sir? They didn't leave. They're waiting. The crew down here stops moving. Even the rat goes still. You feel it in your gut. That low hum of tension. That sense that the fight isn't over. That you're being toyed with. You climb up to the main deck. The sky is orange now. Sun bleeding into the ocean. The air smells like ash, wood, salt, blood. You scan the horizon. Nothing. But that doesn't mean anything. They could be behind a fog bank, or a mile out watching through spyglass, or under the surface like sharks. You see Knox sharpening her knife. Slow, thoughtful. She catches your eye. They come tonight, she says. No emotion, just fact. You want to argue. You don't. Dinner is quieter than usual. If it can be called dinner. A gray stew, thin as water. Bits of fish, or rat, or something worse. No one asks. No one finishes. You sit near the mast, huddled into your own ribs, watching the sky darken. The stars start to prick through, one by one. Someone hums a lullaby you don't recognize. Another scratches tally marks into the deck. You lie down beside a coil of rope. It smells like oil and seaweed. Your boots are still wet. Your shirt hasn't dried. Your hands are blistered. Your lips cracked. Your back sore. You stare at the stars. You wonder if any of them saw what happened today. You wonder if they care. Below deck again. The coughing has stopped. You don't know if that's a good thing. You close your eyes, try to sleep. You think about your family, your old bed, warm bread, birdsong, anything that isn't wood and rats and blood. You dream, briefly, of land. Then something crashes above. Wood splinters, a scream, a bell. You sit bolt upright. Your heart's already racing before you open your eyes. They're not gone. They never were. Crack. The sound tears through the hull like thunder made of teeth. You jolt upright, heart exploding in your chest. Around you, Bodies stir, groaning, scrambling, swearing. Somewhere above, someone screams. Another thud, heavier this time. The Mercy lurches sideways. You hit the wall, elbow first, teeth rattling. Voices erupt. Boots hit boards. Someone yells, "They're back! They're back!" You don't know who "they" is, but you already know. You knew it when you fell asleep. You felt them in your bones. You scramble up the ladder. Smoke? Or is it fog? Rolls down the steps like it's alive. You choke on it before you even hit the top. And then you're above deck, and it's hell. You can't see more than 5 feet ahead. The fog is a wall. A living, moving wall. It crawls over the deck, wraps itself around the sails, clings to your face like wet cloth. Someone runs past you, limping, bloody. You don't recognize them. Another figure barrels into you. You both crash to the deck. You look up, expecting a face. You see a blade. You roll. The sword slams into the wood where your neck just was. The attacker growls wrong voice, wrong face, not Mercy crew. He swings again. You kick. He grunts. You scramble to your feet, slipping on wet deck. You don't have a weapon. You don't even have shoes. You pick up a broken plank and swing wildly. It connects. The man falls, groaning, clutching his side. You don't wait. You run. All around you, chaos. The fog hides everything. Screams pierce it, sharp and sudden. Figures appear, clash, vanish. Fire bursts from the stern, a barrel, ignited. Flames leap up the mast like they've been waiting for this moment. Smoke thickens the fog. Your eyes burn. Someone shouts, "Boarders, they're on!" You hear the clash of blades, the crack of pistols, the wet thud of flesh meeting wood. You stumble past a fallen man, face caved in, fingers twitching. This isn't a skirmish. This is slaughter. You find Garrick near the bow, his arms still bandaged, sword gripped in the other. He's bleeding from somewhere new. He sees you. "Where's your weapon, Limp?" Before you answer, something crashes nearby. You duck. Garrick doesn't. He lunges forward into the fog and disappears. You never see him again. A figure appears beside you. Knocks. Hair soaked, blade red, eyes wild. "We're being overrun," she says flatly. "Get to the powder room. Hold the stairs." "But I don't have." She shoves a dagger into your hand. "It's sticky. Just don't die. We're running out of hands." She disappears into the mist. You stagger to the stairwell. Someone's already there. Fighting. A boy, maybe. No ears. Maybe someone else is slashing at an intruder with a short sword. He's fast, but small. The enemy swings once, twice. Too wide, too heavy. You rush forward, dagger in hand. You stab blindly. Once, twice. You feel it. The resistance of fabric. Then something soft. Then something hard. The man gasps. Blood hits your cheek. He collapses. You stare. Your hands shake. You just killed someone. Maybe. You think. No Ears stares at you. Nods once. Then runs. More enemies storm the deck. Some are barefoot. All are furious. You realize they weren't after treasure. They wanted revenge. The Mercy hurt them last time. Maybe sunk their friends. Maybe stole their food. Whatever it was, they're here for pain. You hear the captain's voice, finally. One word. Drop. You don't understand. Until someone cuts the fog. Boom. A cannon fired point blank into the boarding planks. Wood explodes. Men scream. The boards split and fall, and so do two of your own, including the boy. You watch him fall into the black water, eyes wide, mouth open, arms flailing, then gone. No splash, just gone. More fighting, more smoke. You stab again. Someone falls. You get punched. Hard. Your ears ring. You fall, crawl, stand. You don't remember how many people you've seen die. You don't know if you've killed 1 man or 5. You don't know if your heart's still beating, or if it just forgot how. Then silence. Gradual, like fog pulling back. Screams turn to groans. Groans turn to coughing. Coughing turns to breathing. You stand in the middle of the deck, dagger shaking in your hand, surrounded by bodies. Some mercy, some not. Blood pools at your feet. The captain walks past. He doesn't look at you. Doesn't look at the dead. He looks at the man on his knees at the bow, bound, gagged, panting. One survivor. Enemy. Captured. The captain kneels in front of him. You expect a speech. He says one word. Why? The man sobs. You never hear his answer. Dawn doesn't rise. It seeps. Gray light leaks through the ragged sails, casting everything in a dull, sickly tone. It's not morning so much as the night getting bored and walking away. The deck is a mess. Bodies, the ones still breathing, groan, twitch, moan. The rest have been lined up, though you can't tell if that's out of respect or just to get them out of the way. You're still shaking. Your fingers hurt. Your eyes feel sunburned. There's dried blood in the crease of your nose. You don't know whose. Garrick is gone. You didn't see it, but someone said he was stabbed through the back. Knox has taken over his duties. She hasn't said a word since the fog cleared. The air still smells like burned rope and sweat. Someone vomits over the side. Another lights a pipe with hands that won't stop trembling. The prisoner is still kneeling, hands bound behind his back, gagged. Blood on his shirt, but not much. He got lucky, or unlucky, depending on how long the captain plans to keep him breathing. They drag him below deck. Not gently. A few crew members throw curses at him, or spit, or worse. One tries to kick him, but misses. You follow. Not because you're told, because you need to see. You need to know why you killed. Why your friends are dead. Why your skin still feels too tight. You descend into the dark. The prisoner is tied to a post. It's almost theatrical. He kneels in the center of the hold, like some twisted sermon's about to begin. The crew gathers around in a circle, silent, waiting. The captain arrives last. He steps out of the shadows like he was already there the whole time. No grand entrance. No boots stomping. Just presence. He crouches in front of the prisoner, studies him, then removes the gag. Silence. The man coughs. Blood. Tries to speak. His accent's strange, thick, clipped, northern. The captain says one word. Why, that's it. No threats, no shouts. Just that, why? The man laughs. It's dry. It sounds like rope rubbing against itself. You don't even remember us, he says. The captain says nothing. You burned our village, the man continues. Took everything. Said we were hiding grain, that we were spies. The crew shifts. You slit my father's throat, right in front of me. Still, the captain doesn't flinch. Left my mother for the fire. I swore I'd find you. His voice cracks. And I did. The captain nods. Not sorry. Not cruel. Just a slow understanding. Like he's filing the information away. Loyalty, he says finally. It poisons you. Then He turns and walks away. Just like that. You stay frozen. That was it? No violence? No torture? No blood? You expected more. You don't know what, but something. Someone whispers behind you, "He's done worse for less." Another replies, "He's thinking, that's worse." The prisoner is still tied, still alive, but you see it in his eyes. The fear's gone. It's replaced by something worse. Pity. You spend the morning cleaning again. Blood this time is tackier, thicker. You find clumps of hair near the bow, a tooth between two boards. The mast creaks above you. You almost forget what silence feels like. Then you hear Knox's voice. Flat. Low. "West." Captain wants a new heading. "West?" someone asks. "But that's—" "I know," she cuts them off. No one questions further. But you see the look in their eyes. Something's cracking. You help carry a man to the edge of the ship. His name was Olin. You shared water with him once. He gave you half a biscuit your first day. He bled out in his hammock slow, choking. No prayers again. Just a splash. You wait for it this time. Splash. You listen to it echo. It's the only goodbye you get. Back below, you check on the prisoner. He hasn't moved. Still tied. Still quiet. You kneel beside him. You don't know why. You ask, "Did you really come just to kill him?" He doesn't answer. Instead, he says, "You think you're different from him?" You want to say yes. He smiles. You're not. You leave. Above deck, the sails shift. The wind has changed. The course is set. And it's the first time since you woke up on this ship that you realize no one knows where you're going. Maybe not even the captain. The ship turns west. No explanation. No ceremony. The captain simply mutters a word. West, and Knox adjusts the course. The crew obeys. But the air changes. West means unknown. West means uncharted. West means empty on every map anyone's ever trusted. You hear it in their voices, the unease. They whisper it in half sentences, in muttered curses, in glances cast over shoulders. No ports that way, just teeth and fog. Only thing west is hell. By the second day, the sun forgets to shine. The sky turns the color of wet stone. Gray on gray, no warmth, just light enough to make shadows sharp. The water is darker now, almost black, like it's seen things it won't talk about. Seabirds are gone. No gulls, no calls, just the sound of the hull cutting water and the creak of rope under strain. You start to forget what day it is. The ship doesn't ring bells anymore. Knox stopped ordering them. "No point," she said. "The days don't change out here. You sleep when you can. Eat when food appears. Breathe when you remember to. And then the rations run low. It happens slowly. A smaller bowl, a thinner stew, less salt, less everything. Gut Bucket stops pretending it's food. He doesn't even growl anymore when you take your portion. He just hands it over with a blank look, as if apologizing with his eyes. The stew tastes like water boiled with memory. The bread is rock. It shatters more than it crumbles. And still, you eat. Because the hunger is bigger than shame. By the fifth night west, the whispers become words. I saw him hoarding biscuits. They say the prisoner hasn't eaten in 3 days. Captain's steering into madness. You hear them in the dark, from hammocks, from shadows. You try to ignore them, but they soak into your skin. The prisoner still sits tied to the same post, but now no one guards him. They don't need to. No one's afraid he'll escape. They're afraid of what he knows. He doesn't speak, doesn't sleep, doesn't eat. You offer him water once. He just stares at it like it's poison. You don't offer again. You begin to dream strange things. Black sails, towers in the sea, faces without eyes, a rat the size of a man whispering, "Jump, jump, jump." You wake up with salt crusting your lips and blood under your nails. You don't remember biting anyone. You don't remember anything. Then someone cuts a line. It happens at night, middle of a shift change. One of the main ropes is sliced. Not a fray. A clean single motion. Sabotage. The sail flaps loose. The ship groans. For a moment, it lists. The captain appears within minutes. He doesn't yell. He doesn't curse. He simply walks the deck, quiet and slow. He stops at every man, looks him in the eye, says nothing, just looks. Then he finds the knife. It's stashed near the port hatch, wrapped in cloth. A clean blade. Someone took care of it. He picks it up, shows it to no one, and walks away. Morning comes thick and wet. Mist hugs the water like breath held too long. The men gather for roll. No one stands too close to anyone else. The captain appears on deck. In his hand is the knife. This was used to kill the ship, he says. Not a question. A fact. No one answers. He turns to Knox. Punishment. She doesn't blink, doesn't hesitate. 2 crew members grab the youngest deckhand, a boy called Flint. Not his real name, just what people started calling him after his hair caught fire once. He screams. He kicks. It wasn't me. I swear it. They drag him forward anyway. The captain holds the knife out. You think for a heartbeat he's going to do it himself. He doesn't. He hands it to Gutbucket, who takes it without a word. The punishment is swift, brutal, public. They don't kill him. That would be mercy. They cut deep, not to kill, but to remind. Flint sobs, screams, then just breathes. Bleeding, humiliated, broken. Then they throw him in the brig. You don't see him again for 3 days. After that, no one speaks after dark. The whispers die. Even the creak of the ship feels quieter. But now, it's not unity. It's fear. You try to talk to Knox. She looks older now, worn, like the sea's scraping pieces off her. You ask, "What's west?" She chews on a piece of jerky so dry it snaps like bone. "Nothing you'll want to find," she says. That's it. The prisoner starts talking again, just to himself. He hums, muttered songs, half-lost words. He says names no one recognizes. Sometimes you catch him looking at the captain, not with fear, but with recognition. You wonder if he still wants to kill him. You wonder if the captain wants to be killed. The sky gets darker every day. Not storm dark, not cloud dark, just fading. Like someone is dimming the world. You don't know how long you've been sailing west. No one does. Time doesn't work out here. Only salt, and wood, and steel. You hear a splash one night. Someone jumped. You rush to the deck, see nothing but black water. The crew gathers. No one speaks. The captain doesn't even come up. It's as if whoever jumped was already gone long before they hit the water. You ask who it was. Someone says, "Does it matter?" You don't answer, because you don't know if it does. The next morning, a storm brews. Low clouds, slow waves. But the air, it tastes like metal. You smell it before you see it. You feel it in your teeth. The sea starts whispering again, tapping the hull in rhythms that feel like warnings. And somewhere, far in the distance, lightning flickers without thunder. A black line forms on the horizon. It doesn't move, doesn't sway. It just waits, like it's watching. You grip the rail, close your eyes, and hope the next chapter won't be the last. The ocean holds its breath. At first, it's just quiet. Too quiet. No creak of wood, no flapping of canvas, no waves lapping, just stillness, stretching thin across the sea like a sheet of glass ready to crack. Then the light changes. The sky turns the color of old bruises, yellow, green, and deep, rotting purple. Lightning crawls across the horizon, spider-like, with no sound to follow. You taste iron on your tongue. Everyone feels it. No one says a word. Preparation begins without orders. Men move automatically, binding sails, securing barrels, double-lashing crates that already seem too heavy to shift. Gutbucket ties everything in threes. Threes hold better than twos, he mutters. Knox checks the knots with a hand that never stops twitching. The prisoner's still tied, still watching laughs, once, just once. No one asks why. You're given a job. Reinforce the hatch above the powder hold. You lose that, Knox says, and we all go up like God's birthday candles. You nod. Your hands shake so much you nearly drop the hammer. Then, the first gust. It's not strong, not even cold, but it's sharp-like. It's been waiting its whole life to find you. The sails rattle. The masts groan. The Mercy tilts, as if suddenly remembering gravity. Someone falls. A bucket rolls across the deck and over the side. The storm is here. It doesn't roar in like stories say. It builds, like a slow exhale from something ancient and angry. Rain comes sideways, not drops needles. You duck, but it finds you anyway. Stings your skin, blinds your eyes. Men shout. Commands become gibberish. You keep hammering. The hatch is almost secure. You tie the ropes, twice, 3 times, 4. Your fingers bleed but won't stop. Then something cracks. Above, wood screams. You look up just in time to see the mainmast shudder like it's been struck by an invisible god. Lightning. But there's no light. Only heat, sound, splinters. It explodes. Men are thrown like dolls. Fire catches at the top. Pieces rain down like falling knives. You dive. Something slams your back. You hit the deck hard. The world spins. Someone is screaming. Maybe you. You crawl. Through water, smoke, rope. You find someone, maybe Flint, maybe not pinned beneath a beam. His face is crushed. You don't stop. You find the stairs. Try to descend. The water is already there. Rising. The ship groans with every wave. The floor, tilting at angles wood should never bend. Below deck, the barrels have come loose. One slams into a wall. Another rolls past you, nearly takes your legs. You reach the lower hold. It's flooding fast. You wade in, knee-deep, then waist. You hold onto beams, ropes, anything. Try to close the loose hatch from the inside. Something gives way. Water surges in, cold, dark, alive. You're pulled under. Time stops. All you hear is rushing, roaring, inside your head, inside your chest. You fight, kick, grab. Your fingers find a rope. You pull, slam your head against something solid. Wood. You push up, break the surface, cough, vomit water. Gasp. You drag yourself up the steps, back to a world even worse than the one you left. The deck is chaos, fire and rain, men clinging to ropes, sails torn like old cloth. You look for the captain. You don't see him. Then you hear a shout. Sharp, close. You turn and see a blade drawn in the dark. It's one of the crew, Roke. Big, ugly, never liked you. He's moving toward the helm, toward the shadow of the captain, who's gripping the wheel with both hands, unmoved by the storm. Roke's blade gleams. You open your mouth. Too slow. Nox moves first. She appears from the smoke like a phantom, slams into Roke with a scream that's half fury, half warning. They grapple. Roke swings. Misses. Hits her shoulder. She bites him. He roars. Drops his knife. She drives it into his thigh. He falls, but he's not dead. 2 more crew members join him. One grabs Nox. The other moves toward the captain. Mutiny. Here. Now. In the middle of the ocean. In the middle of the storm. In the middle of madness. You don't know why you do it. You run. You tackle the one going for the captain. He hits the deck hard. Slams his head. Doesn't get up. The other freezes. Looks at you. Then looks at the captain. Then flees into the smoke. The captain doesn't say thank you. He doesn't even look at you. Just stares into the wind. Get below, he says. So you go. The next few hours are blurred. You bail water, tighten ropes, help stitch wounds with shaking hands. Roke is dragged below, bleeding and snarling. Nox's arm is torn, but she won't sit down. The prisoner says nothing, but watches everything. Eventually, the storm breaks. Not all at once. First, the wind dies. Then, the rain fades. Then the silence returns. But it's not peace. It's aftermath. The deck is shredded. The mast is gone. 3 are dead. 2 are missing. The brig is locked. Roke inside, alone. Someone asks, "What now?" No one answers. Not even the captain. You look west. The horizon is still black. And you know now, the storm wasn't the worst of it. The storm was yesterday, but it hasn't left. It lingers in the wood, in the ropes, in the bones of the ship. In you, the Mercy is limping. Her mainmast is gone. Her deck looks like a jaw with missing teeth. The sails hang in tatters. The lower hold is flooded knee-deep, and everything smells like wet death. Salt, mold, blood, and something worse. Something sweet. You're sent below. The food stores didn't survive. Barrels burst open. Grains soaked. Salt pork dissolved into slush. Someone tries to eat it anyway. They vomit before they swallow. Gut Bucket says, "We're out." The words echo. Out. The only thing still moving below deck is the rats. And they're thriving. At first, they were just noise in the walls. Now, you see them. Dozens, maybe hundreds. Bold, fat, tail slick and teeth sharp. One watches you from the stairs, doesn't flinch when you throw a boot. They've learned something. You haven't. You spend your days cleaning water that never dries and listening to hunger grow like a second heart inside your ribs. The crew talks less. Or maybe they talk more, but only in whispers. One man claims the rats are stealing food. Another says the rats are the food. You hear chewing at night. You don't know whose. Roke is still in the brig. He hasn't stopped yelling. At first, it was just curses. Threats, promises of revenge. Now, it's prayers, then songs, then laughter. The kind of laughter that sounds like it wants to bite something. He calls out your name sometimes. You saved the bastard. Remember that, limp boy? Remember who you saved? You don't answer. You try not to think about it. But you do. The prisoner starts talking. Not to the crew. Just to you. He waits until you pass. Then, storms don't change men. They show them. Another day, you see it, don't you? What he's becoming. You ask, the captain? He just smiles. He's not becoming. He always was. That night, a scream cuts through the hold. High, short, wet. You drop the bucket. Run. Half the crew is already below. Someone holds a lantern. The light finds the body. It's Oren. His throat is gone, not slit, torn, like something bit him in rage. His eyes are open, his mouth too. No weapon near him. No struggle marks. Just blood. Everywhere. Even the rats stay back from this one. Panic doesn't happen all at once. It spreads. First, the whispers. He was fine. I just spoke to him. Then the fear. Who did this? Then the madness. What if it wasn't one of us? Knox examines the body. No conclusions. No comfort. The captain arrives late. He stares. Kneels. Dips a finger into the blood. Then simply says, "Seal the lower hold. He's rotting already." Someone shouts, "He's not the only one!" A knife is drawn. Knox steps between them. The knife disappears, but not the rage. That night no one sleeps. They gather on deck, in pairs or alone. Some clutch knives, others rope. A few just stare at the horizon, like they're trying to remember what land looked like. You lie near the hatch, too exhausted to move. You hear rats in the wall, and Roke, still laughing in the dark. Next day, the captain calls for silence. The whole crew gathers. He stands at the stern, coat billowing, hair wild. The ship is dying, he says. That much is clear. No one argues. We've sailed too far west, and now she's turning on herself. Someone asks, "What are you saying?" The captain raises a hand. "I'm saying it's time to choose. Order or death." The silence deepens. He nods toward the brig. "Someone is poisoning us, cutting ropes, killing crew. Eyes narrow. The prisoner? Roke? Someone else? You don't know. Maybe he doesn't either." Then he says it. "One will die to remind the rest." You expect them to vote. You expect debate. There is none. He points. Roke. They drag him out. He fights. Screams. Bites one man. Kicks another. Spits blood on the deck. Knox holds him by the throat. "Your last words?" the captain asks. Roke laughs. Then looks straight at you. "Hope you sleep, limp boy." The captain doesn't do it himself. He hands you the blade. Just like that. Heavy. Rusted. Still warm from the sun. You freeze. Knox stares at you. The others, too. No one says anything. They're waiting. If you refuse, maybe they turn on you next. You look at Roke. He's bleeding. Barefoot. Grinning. "You won't do it," he whispers. "You're not one of them. But maybe you are." You step forward. Raise the knife. And you stop. Someone else steps in. Gut bucket. He takes the blade. Roke doesn't scream. Not once. But the gurgle, that stays. They throw his body overboard. No speech. No splash. Just gone. That night, the prisoner speaks again. You let them choose for you. You say nothing. He leans closer. They'll choose you next. You stare at the black water. You haven't eaten in 2 days. You haven't slept in 3. Your hands still smell like blood. And far below, the rats have started chewing through the hull. The ship groans now. Not just the wood, not just the sails. The ship itself, like it's trying to speak or scream. You hear it in the stillness, in the dark, beneath your hammock. A long, low creak that vibrates in your teeth. It's not a sound so much as a warning. The mercy is failing. No storm, no cannon, no attack. Just time, and pressure, and salt. The kind of quiet rot that doesn't need a blade to kill. The rats come up during second watch. Dozens of them. Maybe more. They don't sneak. They strut. Across the deck, along the ropes, between boots and buckets. One stops right in front of Gut Bucket, who swings a hammer too slow. The rat doesn't flinch. It just stares, then disappears down a hatch, like it owns the place. No one sleeps that night. Not just from the rats. From what the rats mean. They're no longer scavengers. They're survivors. And we're not. The crew is splintering. Some won't speak. Others won't stop. A man named Pran starts reciting prayers in languages no one knows. Knox slaps him once. He keeps going. Another refuses to open his eyes. Says the sky isn't real anymore. That the sea has swallowed the sun and we're all just echoes. You believe him. A little. You start dreaming of things that might be real. You dream of hands growing from the mast, pulling at ropes made of hair. You dream of the prisoner whispering secrets to the ocean and the water answering in bubbles. You dream of your mother, on shore, waving. But her face is the captain's. You wake up screaming. Twice. No one even looks anymore. The prisoner begins to speak in riddles. Not to you, just to the dark. The water forgets nothing. It just bides its time. Or, wood remembers every footstep. That's why it creaks. And you can't drown if you're already hollow. You don't ask what it means. You're not sure he knows. Or cares. On the 6th day west, a crew member jumps. No argument. No speech. He stands at the railing, looks out, smiles, then steps off. Like he's walking into another room. You run to the side. No splash. Just silence. Then the sea moves. A ripple. A breath. And nothing. That night, the air feels thinner. Harder to breathe. A fight breaks out over a dry biscuit. The loser tries to bite off the winner's ear. They're separated. Barely. Later, you find the biscuit under a boot, crushed. The captain walks among the crew, but they don't look at him like they used to. Not with awe, not with fear, with questions, with weight. You hear them say it. He doesn't know where we are. He led us west to die. He's going to kill us one by one. You want to deny it. You don't. Knox comes to you in the night. Her arm is still bandaged. Her eyes are red. We need to leave, she says. You blink. Leave? This ship is dying. We build a raft. We sail off. Better than sinking. You stare at her. Go where? She shrugs. Anywhere but here. You think of the rats. The water. The dreams. And you nod. She picks 5 others. Silent, fast, smart. The kind of men who haven't cracked yet. You meet in the galley, late. Plan quietly. Collect tools, canvas, barrels. Enough to float. Enough to drift. It won't be comfortable, but it will be alive. The captain finds out. Of course he does. He always does. But he doesn't punish. Not directly. He gathers the crew. Speaks plainly. If anyone wants to leave, he says, they can. No anger, no fire. Just letting go. But, he adds, you'll leave without food, without water, without weapons. A pause. You'll leave naked. No one speaks. Except the prisoner. He laughs. That night, 2 men vanish. Not from Knox's group. Not from the captain's. Just gone. No raft. No trail. The sea takes what it wants. You spend the next day building quietly. The raft takes shape ugly, desperate, but solid. You lash barrels together, nail broken planks over the gaps, patch it with oilcloth and hope. You still don't know if you'll use it, but you have to finish it, because the ship groans louder now, because the rats have started chewing the ropes, because Roke was right. This ship remembers everything, and it's angry. Late afternoon. You sit near the edge of the deck, staring at the water. The prisoner is beside you, unchained now. No one even watches him anymore. He speaks softly. You ever wonder why we all come to the sea? You don't answer. He continues. It's not for gold, not for glory. His eyes drift over the horizon. It's to disappear. Nothing else swallows you so politely. You close your eyes. The wind shifts. Somewhere below, the hull pops. Like a rib cracking. Then silence. Then, the ship lurches. Sails shudder. A beam splits. And beneath your feet, you feel it. Something gave way. Something important. Knox meets your eyes from across the deck. She doesn't speak. She doesn't need to. It's time. The fire had turned the Mercy into something unrecognizable. It didn't sink. Not at first. It smoldered, smoked, cracked along the spine. You watched from a drifting plank, lungs full of smoke, and eyes full of salt. The horizon blurred. The sky refused to dawn. You weren't alone on the plank, but it felt like you were. Knox clung to the opposite edge, her face stained with soot, lips pressed into a straight line. The others were scattered. Milo, silent. Braze, coughing blood. Gutbucket, singing something that wasn't a song. The prisoner, gone. Just gone. Like he'd never existed. The sea had spared you. For now. But it had taken everything else. The raft wasn't a raft yet. Just debris. Just desperation. You found rope among the wreckage. Lashed together barrels, oars, timbers. Floated. Drank rain. Waited. On the second day, your stomach turned against you. Salt water. Rotting splinters. Hunger like a knife under the ribs. Gutbucket said he saw land. There was no land. Braze laughed. A dry, splintered sound. Knox said nothing. You took turns pretending to sleep. Not because you could rest, but because it kept you from thinking. The rat came on the third day. Nobody saw where it came from. Nobody remembered it being aboard. But it was there. Small. Gray. Silent. Watching. You tried to scare it. Milo threw a spoon. It dodged. Knox whispered, "Leave it." You asked why. She didn't answer. Just stared at it. Eyes unreadable. That night, you dreamed of rats. Dozens. Crawling through the burnt hull. Whispering. You woke with a start. The real one was there, on your chest, staring. It didn't move, didn't blink. Eventually, you blinked instead, and it was gone. Day 4. The sun beat down like vengeance. Your skin cracked, lips bled, gut bucket stopped singing. Braze began mumbling about teeth. In the water, in the sky. Milo asked if anyone remembered the prayer Flint used to say. No one answered. You all remembered. You just didn't want to speak it aloud. The raft drifted, and something drifted with it. On the 5th night, Nox cut her palm, let her blood drip into the sea. Payment, she said. No one asked what for. But after that, the waves stopped. Completely. You tried splashing water with an oar. It resisted, thick like oil. It's watching now, she added. So be careful what you think. You didn't ask what she meant. You were too afraid she'd answer. The prisoner returned. Not walking, floating, just beyond the raft's edge. Smiling. Forgotten me already? You reached for him. Your fingers touched water. He vanished. Milo said, that wasn't him. No one argued. Later, you dreamed he whispered to you. Whispered a name you forgot the moment you woke. You remembered the tone, though. Like a lullaby full of teeth. The rat spoke that night. Only one word. Soon. Braze covered his ears. Gut bucket wept. Nox carved into the mast. Symbols, circles, triangles, an eye. You asked what they meant. She didn't stop carving. They're not for us, she said. Day 6. Hunger bloomed like sickness. You found a dead fish tangled in rope. Split it 4 ways. 8 bones, scales. The rat got a piece. No one questioned it. The rat ate first. Milo whispered, it keeps the curse off. You weren't sure if he was joking. Gutbucket started humming again, but the tune was slower, deeper, like a chant. That night, the sea glowed faintly beneath the raft. Green, then red. Braze asked if anyone else saw shapes. No one answered. But no one said no either. That night, you heard voices in the water. Not words. Not quite. But you understood. Remember us. You made the deal. You chose to float. Your teeth ached. Your hands burned. The rat curled beside your head. Its heartbeat synced with yours. Day 7. Milo tried to jump. Said he saw land. You grabbed him. Held him down. He kicked, screamed, cried. Nox slapped him. Hard. You want to go? She hissed. Then go. But don't lie. Not to us. Not to her. Milo didn't speak again that day. He didn't look at anyone either. Night brought fog. Thick. Suffocating. You couldn't see your hands. Only the rat. Its eyes glowed faintly, reflecting nothing. It sat near Nox, then near you. It moved without sound. Then it vanished. You weren't sure if it had ever been there. Later that night, Gutbucket vanished too. One moment, breathing. The next, gone. No splash, no scream, just absence. Braze woke screaming. They're under us. He clawed at the boards. They're inside. You and Nox held him. He bit you. Drew blood. You tied him with rope. Let him scream into the sea. The sea didn't scream back, but it listened. And it smiled. Day 8. No wind, no sun, just gray. You thought of Flint, of Roke, of the brig. You missed the smell of mold and sweat. You missed chains, because they meant you were real. Here? You weren't sure anymore. Knox spoke. We're almost there. You asked where. She smiled. For the first time in days. The edge. Braze laughed again. A wet, broken laugh. And then began whispering a tune you'd never heard before. But somehow, you recognized it. The rat curled beside you. You let it. Its body was warm. Too warm. You whispered to it. Where are we going? It didn't answer, but it smiled. And somehow, that was enough. The raft did not move. Not forward, not side to side, not even with the smallest motion of a current. It simply existed, suspended on the surface of a sea so still it looked like oil. There was no wind, no sound, no breath. It felt like the end of movement itself. You were drifting through something older than time. Somewhere behind you, the mercy still burned, at least in your mind. You could see the flames when you closed your eyes, smell the ash on your fingers, hear the creak of beams cracking under heat. But that had been days ago. Or was it weeks? You'd lost count. All of you had. Milo sat facing the horizon, legs dangling over the edge. He hadn't spoken in over 2 days. Not since he'd tried to jump. He hadn't eaten, hadn't blinked, not really. He just mumbled to himself, eyes fixed on nothing. Words looped out of his mouth like waves, soft and meaningless. Braze was worse. The laughter was gone, replaced by silence, then whispers, then rituals. He drew symbols on the planks with bits of wet charcoal, muttering prayers to something you couldn't name. When you asked what he was doing, he didn't look at you. Just making sure she doesn't forget who we are, he whispered. She? He nodded. The sea, the raft, whatever this is now, and Knox. Knox was changing. She stared at the water like it spoke to her. Her eyes weren't distant, but focused, sharp. Studying something you couldn't see. She hadn't slept in days either, but she never looked tired. She carved into the raft with her blade-long, clean strokes. Circles, teeth, spirals, runes that made your skin crawl just to look at. When you asked her what they meant, she said, "They're not for us." Then who? For what comes next? The rat moved between you all. A silent observer. It didn't beg for food, didn't squeak, didn't do anything a rat was supposed to do. It just watched. On the 6th night, it spoke. Drift, it said. Only once. Just loud enough for all of you to hear. Then silence. You and Milo locked eyes. Braze crossed himself. Knox nodded, as if she'd been waiting for that word. That night, the fog returned. Not the soft kind. This was dense, black, unnatural. It rolled across the surface of the water in a straight line, like a curtain being drawn across the world. Inside the fog, sound changed. Every word felt muffled, distant. Even your thoughts echoed differently inside your own skull. Milo stood up and walked into the fog. Milo! He didn't turn, didn't slow, just kept walking until he vanished. You ran to the edge of the raft, but there was no splash, no sound, only stillness. The rat looked at you. Its eyes glowed faintly. One gone, it said. Then it climbed onto Knox's shoulder. The next morning, or what passed for morning in this endless twilight, Knox spoke. We passed through something last night. What do you mean? A gate, a veil, a dream. I don't know, but we're not in the same place. Braze, who'd been staring at his own hands for hours, chuckled dryly. We're not anywhere. We left that behind. You looked around. He wasn't wrong. The sea was too smooth, the air too thick. Even the raft felt less like wood and more like skin. Breathing, moving, living. You slept in fits. When you dreamed, it was of a woman with eyes like the deep. She stood in the ocean, her skin black as night, her teeth too many, too sharp. She sang to you, and her voice was every lullaby your mother never sang. "Come back," she whispered. "You never should have left." You woke with water in your mouth, salt, and something thicker. Your tongue felt wrong, heavy. The rat sat beside your head. You heard her, didn't you? You didn't answer. It nodded. On what might have been the 9th day, the sky cracked. Not metaphorically. Literally. A seam tore open in the heavens, stretching from one horizon to the other. Inside was not light, not clouds. Teeth. Teeth, turning slowly like cogs, interlocking, grinding. Braze started screaming. "She sees us. She sees us." He jumped. This time, there was a splash. You and Knox didn't speak for a long time. Later that night, the raft shuddered. Hard. Something bumped it from beneath. Then again, louder, closer. The rat hissed. Knox pulled her knife. "It's hungry," she said. "What is?" She looked down. "The memory. You were alone now. You and Knox." The silence pressed in on you from every direction. The stars above twisted into spirals, into shapes that made you sick if you stared too long. You felt the raft breathe. Exhale. Inhale. Like it was waiting. Knox came to sit beside you. She reached into her pocket and pulled out something wrapped in cloth. A charm. Old. Carved from bone. Inked with a symbol that looked like a spiral swallowing itself. "My mother gave me this," she said. You stared at it. It pulsed faintly. "She said it would keep the sea from taking me, but I think it just let me hear her better." "Hear who?" "The one beneath." You didn't ask anything else. That night, the sky bled. A crimson light soaked everything. The sea boiled without heat. Fish rose to the surface, belly up, then flipped, swimming through air. The rat climbed to the mast and looked upward. It spoke again. "It's time." Knox stood. "You did too." The raft turned, slowly, as if on its own. You saw it then. A mouth in the water. Enormous. Black. Not open, not closed, just waiting. You took a step forward. Knox grabbed your hand. We dived together. Or not at all. You looked down. The sea no longer reflected anything. Only darkness. Depth. A spiral. And then, without warning, the raft tilted. You fell, you and Knox, into the mouth. Not water. Not void. Memory. You plunged into the mouth. It wasn't water. Not really. The sensation was thicker, like falling into smoke made of memory and molasses. There was no splash, no cold, only weight, pressure, silence, then not silence. Whispers, thousands of them, all around you, inside you. They spoke in every voice you remembered. Voices you trusted, hated, loved, lost, Flint, Roke, Braze, your mother, yourself. "Come back. You shouldn't be here. She's not done with you yet." You opened your eyes and found you had no body. Or maybe your body had no edges. Just light. Just thought. You weren't sinking. You were being carried. Beside you, Knox drifted through the murk, her face unreadable, hair swirling in slow spirals. She looked at you and mouthed something. You couldn't hear it, but you felt it. Remember, the world began to form around you. Not land, not sea, something between. A floor of stone emerged, covered in carvings older than breath, coral and bone, symbols from Nox's knife. You stood without standing, walked without moving. The eye opened above you. A disk of burning darkness, unmoving, always watching. You passed through halls built of shipwrecks and rib cages. Lanterns hung from nothing, casting no light. Fish swam through walls. Stars drifted overhead, below, within, and the whispers grew louder. They told stories you recognized. The story of the storm, the fire on the Mercy, the oath Flint made to the sea. You heard it clearly now. If you let us live, we'll bring you stories. We'll feed you with memory, with myth, with blood. The sea had listened, and it had remembered. You found yourself on a staircase that led nowhere. Each step took you to another moment. You stepped into your first day aboard the Mercy, the stink of the brig, the sound of Roke's laughter. Another step, your brother, choking on salt. Another, Flint, carving something into the mast when no one was watching. Another, your own hands, stained with someone else's blood, holding the coin the prisoner gave you. And at the center of it all, the eye. Closer now, watching, waiting. Do you see it? Nox was beside you again, more real than the rest. What is it? She looked up. Her eye. You turned your gaze toward the swirling void, and it blinked. The world cracked like glass. Everything fell. You hit the floor. Hard. You were somewhere else. A great hall. Stone, black and wet, covered in moss and bone. A throne at the far end, carved from driftwood and teeth, and on it something sat. Not a woman, not a god. A shape that wore both. Hair like ink, skin like moonlight. A face that never stayed the same. One moment it was your mother, then Flint, then the prisoner, then Nox, then you. You came, she said. The words didn't echo. They bloomed inside your chest. You offered a story. I accepted. You wanted to speak, but your voice was gone. Nox stepped forward. We didn't know the price. The sea goddess' smile widened. But you do now. She lifted a hand. The world changed again. Now you were beneath the raft. Looking up, you could see your own feet, your own hands, clinging to planks that no longer floated. Nox was there too, carving. But this Nox bled from the eyes. The rat was gone. Instead, in its place, a hole, a void, a hunger, and out of it crawled shapes. Half-formed men, hollow-eyed sailors, things that once were human, now reduced to memory and regret. They spoke with your voice. We never left. You turned to run, but there was no floor, only the eye. You fell again, into a sea of mirrors. Each one showed you something different. You becoming the captain. You stabbing Flint. You taking the prisoner's place. You, a rat. You, the eye. One cracked. You walked through it. Now the raft returned. But the sea was different. It shimmered with colors that had no names. The sky pulsed in tandem, red to violet to bone white. You were no longer certain if you had left the memory or if it had left a mark on reality itself. Nox was lying beside you, breathing slow. You sat up, looked around. no horizon, just fog. And in the center of it, all the eye, now carved into the surface of the sea itself. Nox opened her eyes. "We're marked," she said. "What happens now?" She looked at you, face unreadable. "Now we tell the story." The rat reappeared, climbing from a gap in the raft that hadn't been there before. And pray she likes the ending. When you opened your eyes again, the raft was no longer floating. It was suspended. Above nothing, beneath nothing. The sea stretched below in a color you couldn't name, and the sky above had stopped pretending to be real. It blinked. Not the eye from before, but the sky itself, as though it had eyelids, as though it saw you now. You touched the wood of the raft, and it pulsed back, not with life, not exactly, but memory. Every plank had absorbed everything. The screams, the betrayal, the story. Nox was already sitting upright, her eyes sunken but fierce. "We're above the story now," she said. You nodded without understanding. "Above? The world we left has moved on. The one we returned to hasn't." The rat curled in her lap, silent. Its breathing matched hers. It no longer felt like an animal. It felt like a relic. The sky cracked. Not a sound. A feeling. Like bone snapping deep inside your own chest. You looked up and saw it again. That shimmering vein of light that split the clouds from horizon to horizon. From it, shapes began to descend. Not birds, not creatures. Stories, scenes, memories, ghosts. You saw the deck of the Mercy, flames licking at her ribs, Roke screaming, Braze vomiting blood into a bucket. You saw yourself asleep, dreaming of fire. You saw Nox kissing something under the water. Something massive. The visions floated down like petals and evaporated just before touching the raft. Nox stood. They're purging it. What? The sea, the sky, everything. They're trying to forget us. You stared at the shapes. One of them looked like the prisoner, but his eyes were yours. The wind returned slowly. Not real wind. It carried no scent, no sound, but it pushed the fog aside and revealed what lay ahead. A ship, but not the Mercy. This one had no sails, no masts, no crew. It hovered above the water, unmoving, made entirely of bone, human and whale, rib and skull. "We have to board it," Nox said. "Why?" "Because that's what comes next." You looked around. No oars, no sails, just the raft, just the rat. And yet the raft began to move. Drawn forward, pulled not by current but by narrative. The sea wanted closure. As you drew closer, the ship's name became visible, etched into its stern in jagged letters. The Echo. Nox whispered, "It remembers." You didn't ask what. You knew. Boarding it was like stepping into your own grave. Every plank creaked with old guilt. The air was heavy, and every breath felt like inhaling centuries. You walked the deck, careful not to speak. Every time you tried to say a word, a voice responded that wasn't yours. The Echo didn't like silence broken by strangers. Nox led you to the captain's quarters. Inside was a mirror, cracked. "What do we do?" "Look." You did, and saw not yourself, but every version of yourself. The coward, the mutineer, the killer, the liar, the believer. One stepped forward. You offered a story. I told it. No, you lived it. Now tell the rest. You spoke, without knowing the words. You told the Echo everything. About Flint, about the Mercy, about the Eye, about Milo, about the fire and the fog and the rat and the descent. Every word came out as pain, as blood. The echo drank it. The ship moaned. Nox clutched the table. It's rewriting us. The mirror melted, and inside it, the sea, goddess. Her eyes now your own. We are what we remember, she said. Then she shattered. The echo began to sink. No water, just down. The stars spun around you. The raft reappeared below, catching you gently as the echo disappeared into fog. Now the sky was gone. Only darkness. Only the sound of something enormous breathing. And a question. What waits above? There was no light. Not the kind you could see with. Not even the deep red glow that had lingered for days. It was a darkness that swallowed memory. That erased direction. That knew your name before you did. It was ancient, sentient, and watching. You floated, or sank, or stood still. Time had become irrelevant. The raft beneath you still existed, but it had changed again. Its surface was slick, almost breathing, and with each pulse it whispered in languages you didn't understand, but felt in your ribs. Sometimes the whispers took on voices from your past Flint's cruel chuckle, Bray's muttering in his sleep, your mother's song butt twisted, as if echoed through bone. Nox sat beside you. She hadn't spoken since the echo vanished. Her eyes stared through the dark like she saw something coiled in it, just beyond. You wanted to ask her what came next, but the question fell apart in your throat. You couldn't tell if the silence between you was fear or reverence, because you already knew. Something was rising. Not water, not wind, memory. It started as pressure, like a tide behind your eyes. Images flooded through you. Not visions from the past, but futures that never happened. You married to someone you didn't recognize, in a town with no sea, the smell of bread and firelight, a daughter with your eyes. You leading a ship made of stars across a black ocean that whispered the names of forgotten gods. You screaming beneath the waves, chained to a stone, etched with your own handwriting. Then they came faster. 1,000 lifetimes. 1,000,000 possible selves. You felt them die, fail, drown, burn, become gods, become rats, become you. Some were better than you, some worse, some monstrous. But all were you. The tide was choosing. Nox finally moved. She crawled to the edge of the raft and stared down into the blackness. The motion was slow, strained, as though the air itself resisted motion. It wants a shape, she said. What does? The story. You crawled beside her. The sea was glass now, reflecting nothing but your faces. And beneath the glass eyes, millions, vast and small, blinking without rhythm, all watching, some weeping, some grinning, some disturbingly familiar. She's coming back, Nox said. You felt it too. A pull, the tide returning, not of water, but of narrative. Every fiber of your being recognized it, the tightening knot before a chapter ends, before a hand turns the page. You were no longer passengers. You were vessels. From the edge of the raft, something rose. It wasn't a creature. It wasn't a god. It was a mask, bone white, floating just above the surface. Hollow eyes, no mouth, no expression. It turned toward you and attached itself to your face. There was no pain, only memory. You remembered being born in a tide pool under a sky of ink. You remembered the sun screaming. You remembered every death you'd caused, every one you hadn't. The mist swings, the times you looked away. You remembered Flint making the bargain. You remembered that the bargain was never with the sea. It was with the story itself, Nox wore a mask, too. Hers was cracked. She looked at you and nodded. The raft began to spin. Slowly, then faster. The stars above, if they were stars, spiraled with it, drawing lines across a sky that no longer resembled the heavens. You saw constellations form and break, rewrite themselves into sentences. You held onto the wood. It pulsed faster, like a heart remembering its purpose, and then it broke apart. The raft splintered, not violently, but as if dissolving into mist, into letters, into sentences, into story. Each plank became a piece of the narrative. Each word sank into the sea. You floated. No raft, no sky, only Nox, only the masks, only the beginning. Then came the voice. Do you accept the telling? It came from everywhere, from the sea, the stars, the rat now curled inside your chest, and something else, from you. Nox answered first. I do. You tried to speak. Nothing came. The mask hummed. Then your chest burned. A word etched itself into your ribs. Teller. You nodded, and the sea roared in approval. Light returned, but not like before. It came from beneath. A soft, golden glow, rising. Not natural, not warm. The kind of light that reveals things not meant to be seen. The sea opened, like a curtain, and through it you saw the mercy. But not burning, not empty, whole, crude, alive. A second chance, or an illusion. The raft reformed beneath your feet. It was different now, smooth, dark, etched with words that shifted when you blinked. Names, phrases, lies, truths. You and Nox stood side by side. The tide carried you forward, toward the mercy, toward what waited above. You weren't sure what version of yourself would step aboard, but the story had chosen you, and you had chosen it. The mercy loomed ahead, but it wasn't the ship you remembered. She was intact, yes, sails full, masts tall, hull gleaming like it had never touched blood or flame. But something was wrong, too clean, too precise. Like a memory drawn by a hand that never truly knew her, the raft drifted closer on its own. Nox stood beside you, arms crossed, her mask now fused into her skin, bone threading beneath her cheek like frost. She didn't speak. Neither did you. The silence between you felt heavy with unspoken choice. Above, the sky had stabilized into a sickly lavender. Clouds moved backward. Time didn't. You looked at the ship again. No crew visible. No anchor dropped. Just a gangplank already lowered. Waiting. You didn't step forward. The raft did. As your foot touched the wood of the Mercy once more, a chill ran up your spine. It remembered you. The deck was empty. Silent. But not dead. Lanterns glowed with steady light. Sails rustled. You even heard the faint creak of the wheel. Nox touched the mast. It thrummed beneath her fingers. This isn't a ship, she said. It looks like one. That's because you want it to. You frowned. What is it then? She didn't answer. Instead, she walked toward the captain's cabin. You followed, heart pounding. The door opened before she touched it. Inside. Not the quarters you knew, but a library. Wall to wall, floor to ceiling. Every book bore your name, and hers. One sat open on a lectern. You approached. Words shifted across the page, never still, like waves. You leaned in and saw phrases from your past, exact lines you'd said or thought. I never wanted to sail. He deserves worse. Please don't remember me this way. Each one burned into the parchment, alive. Knox turned the page. You saw the next chapter. Blank. This is it, she said. The second telling. What does that mean? She didn't smile. It means we get to choose, but not freely. Then, it's not a choice. She shook her head. It's a story. Suddenly, the bookshelves began to shift. Not collapse. Move. Each shelf twisted, like ribs folding inward. The room breathed, and from the shadows stepped a figure. Not Flint. Not Braze. Someone else. He wore no face, only a mask, the same as yours once was. His voice didn't come from his mouth. It came from inside your head. Begin. You stepped to the lectern, hands trembling. Knox placed her palm on the blank page. It accepted her. Ink spilled from her fingertips. You followed, and as your fingers touched the parchment, a jolt ran through you. Like your bones had turned to lightning, like your soul had teeth. The page filled, not with words, but with memory. You wrote your first kill. You wrote the fire. You wrote the coin the prisoner gave you. You wrote the rat's name. You wrote what you had never dared say aloud. Knox wept beside you, her tears staining the parchment black. The page turned itself, and more stories demanded birth. You wrote the mask. You wrote the sea. You wrote her name, though you had never known it until now. Velhara, the sea that remembers, the goddess that never forgives, the story that always ends in drowning. Velhara appeared behind you, not in body, in scent, in breath, in vibration. Your spine arched with it. She spoke with your voice. This is not your first telling. The room faded. Now you stood on the deck again. But it was day, clear sky, crew everywhere, Roke laughing, Braze swabbing, Flint at the helm. You? Alive. Before everything. You blinked. It's a loop, you said. Knox appeared beside you. Older, smiling. Only if you refused to change it. The sea roared, and above it all, the eye blinked again. Watching, waiting, inviting. You stepped forward. This time, ready to write the ending. You stepped onto the deck of the Mercy as if for the first time. Again. But something had cracked. Not the wood, not the sky, the rhythm. Where once the world pulsed with the certainty of story conflict, climax, consequenzo, there was a dissonance. The sails hung full of wind, but the ship didn't move. The crew stood in place, mid-motion, like actors waiting for a line they no longer believed. Knox stepped beside you. Her presence grounded you more than gravity. They remember, she whispered. You turned to look at Roke, frozen mid-laugh. Braze, holding a mop that dripped without sound. Flint, one hand on the wheel, eyes locked on you, blinking, slowly, with intention. Then why don't they move? Because they know the story breaks here. The eye opened. It didn't descend this time. It hovered like a sun. Its gaze seared through the clouds, illuminating not the deck, but the gaps in logic, the places where things no longer added up. Braze never should have been here. He died in the fire. Roke should be bleeding. You saw it. You heard it. Flint should be bones, or salt. This isn't a loop, you said. It's a glitch. Knox smiled grimly. A rebellion. The Mercy groaned, and the air shifted. Words began to leak from the sky like ink. They splashed against the sails and stained them with paragraphs. Sentences crawled along the planks. Dialogue whispered itself into the wind. You read a line beneath your foot. He shouldn't be alive. And another. The mask is watching. Below deck, the ship pulsed like a living thing. You and Knox descended together, lantern flickering, though no flame burned within it. The walls were covered in script. Not in ink, in blood. Yours. Memories played out on the wood. Like carvings moving, etched ghosts, scenes you barely recalled, and some you never lived. You saw yourself pushing Flint overboard. You saw yourself locked in a brig that never existed. You saw Knox alone, whispering to the sea. The story wasn't just rewriting itself. It was fighting for dominance. We have to decide, Knox said. What? Which version becomes truth? You stared at the wall. One carving showed you kissing Velhara. Another showed you stabbing her. What if neither is true? Then make a new one. You hesitated. What happens if I choose wrong? The ship shuddered. A voice answered. That wasn't Knox. Then you drowned. The brig was open now. Inside stood the prisoner. No longer ragged, no longer shackled. He wore your face. I kept it warm for you, he said. You stepped inside. The cell door didn't close. Knox stayed outside, hand on hilt. Who are you? You asked. I'm the version that died. He smiled. And you? You're the one that lied. You fought him. Not with blades. Not with fists. With truths, he accused. You confessed. He recalled. You denied. He wept. You bled. The brig collapsed around you, each word spoken tearing at the timbers until only the sea remained. Knox pulled you back, coughing, gasping. It has to be you, she said. Why? Because you're the only one still undecided. The eye blinked once, and the deck caught fire. The crew began to move. Roke screamed. Braze fell to his knees, coughing blood. Flint stepped forward, blade drawn, eyes wet. You did this. You raised your hands. I didn't choose this ending. You wrote it. He lunged. Knox blocked him. Steel met steel. The story demanded blood, and you were running out of ways to rewrite it. You ran to the helm. The wheel spun on its own, casting pages into the air. Each one a possible ending, each one darker than the last. You drowned. Knox betrayed you. The eye consumed the world. The mercy exploded. The past looped forever. You tore them from the sky, burned them with breath, screamed your name into the storm. I am the teller. And the eye froze. The ship stopped. So did the fire. The crew vanished, like mist sucked into lungs. Only you and Knox remained. And the rat curled on your shoulder. It spoke for the first time. Write something true. You turned to the sea and began. You wrote, and the world trembled. Not just the ship, but everything. The sky, the water, the very space between seconds. The moment your pen or finger or thought touched the page, the mercy groaned like it was being carved from the inside. Knox stood behind you, silent, guarding you from something neither of you could name. Maybe yourself. Maybe the thing reading over your shoulder. You didn't write a story. You wrote a confession. I remember the first time I saw the sea. I was afraid, not of drowning, of being forgotten. The ink bled into the parchment. The rat squeaked once, then went still. On your shoulder, its claws dug gently into your shirt, as if anchoring itself. I remember the first lie I told, I said I didn't know what happened to the prisoner. I knew. I helped it happen. I let it. With every word, the ship beneath you buckled. Paragraphs peeled off the hull like rot. Figures from every possible version of your life screamed and vanished into spray. I remember her, not as a goddess, not as a terror, but as a child. A memory that outlived its own truth. Valhara's name slid down the mast like blood. The eye blinked, slowly. And then, it wept. She was never meant to be a monster. We made her one. You turned the page. The ink moved faster now, more than you could think. It was writing you as much as you wrote it. The sea doesn't punish, it reflects. The water boiled, not with heat, with truth. Nox stepped forward. She was no longer armored, no longer masked. She stood like someone who had just shed her skin, eyes wide, trembling. "You're doing it," she whispered. "You're breaking it. What if it shouldn't be broken? Then we write something better." You wrote, "There is a name beneath the waves, and it is mine." You dropped the pen. Or maybe it dissolved. Maybe it had never been there. The page lit up with flame, but did not burn. Instead, it lifted from the lectern and spiraled upward like a prayer written in ash. The eye closed, and the mercy cracked in half. But it didn't sink. It unfolded, like a flower, like a book, like a heart. You and Nox stood in the center of what remained. A platform of memory, floating between sea and sky. Around you, echoes of the story shimmered. Scenes you had lived, others you had erased. They shimmered, danced, and evaporated. Braze laughed. Roe cried. Flint screamed, and all of it faded, until only the sound of waves remained. Then, a voice. Not yours. Hers. "Do you remember me?" You turned. She was there. Not a god. Not a monster. Valhara. A girl. Young. Eyes too old. Hair like the tide. Skin carved with runes that moved when she breathed. "You called me," she said. You nodded. "Why?" "Because the story was wrong." She tilted her head. "All stories are. That's why they're stories." You knelt. "Then help me make it true." Valhara walked past you. Her feet didn't touch the platform. She traced a line with her finger in the air, and from that line a wave emerged. Not water. Narrative. The sea began to rise, but not as flood. As structure. As meaning. Nox whispered, "She's rebuilding it." "What?" "The world." Valhara smiled. "Not just the world. Yours." She raised both hands, and the eye above burst like a soap bubble. 1,000 smaller eyes replaced it. Each one a version of you, of her, of every soul that had ever touched the sea. "Choose," she said. One eye turned red. One gold. One black. One wept. You reached for the one that didn't blink, that only watched. You touched it, and the platform shattered. You fell, through pages, through lives, through everything you had ever been. You saw yourself never going to see, yourself dying in your cradle, yourself living forever. Each version called your name. You ignored them all, until silence. You landed, not on water, on stone, an island you'd never seen, or maybe one you'd drowned on, long ago. Nox landed beside you, laughing, laughing through tears. "We did it." "Did what?" She gestured around. The sea stretched endlessly, but calm. The sky held no eye, only stars. "We wrote an end." You looked down, The stone bore an inscription. Here lies the name beneath the waves. Beneath it, your true name, the one you never spoke aloud. You whispered it, and the world accepted it. The sea was still. After everything, the gods, the eyes, the masks, the stories, it was just you, Nox, and water. The sky had finally remembered how to be sky. A deep navy stretched above you, scattered with stars that did not blink, did not judge. There was no eye. Just constellations whose names you didn't know and didn't need to. The island beneath your feet was silent, save for the gentle slap of waves against black stone. You whispered your true name once more. It echoed, then dissolved into the sea. And the sea whispered back, "We remember." You turned to Nox. She no longer looked like a warrior, or a shadow, or a specter. She looked tired. "It's done," she said. You shook your head slowly. "It's quiet. That's not the same." She smiled, but there was sadness behind it. "No, but it's a beginning." You stepped to the edge of the stone and looked down. The water was crystal clear. Beneath the surface, not fish, not wrecks. Memories. Moments you had forgotten, or buried, or rewritten. You saw yourself laughing with Roke at the barrel of rum. You saw Braze, teaching you how to play bones. You saw Flint crying alone after the fire. You saw your mother, standing on a cliff, calling your name across an ocean. Every moment returned. Because the sea had remembered, you crouched beside the edge. What happens now? Nox knelt with you. We listen. The water began to rise. Not to flood, to meet you, like a hand extended. You touched it, and were pulled inside. The world turned blue. You didn't need to breathe or swim. The sea carried you like a memory in motion. Around you, ghosts flickered. But they weren't ghosts. They were echoes. Roke danced on the surface of a barrel. Braze counted silently, his lips moving in rhythm. Flint stood in the crow's nest, eyes fixed on the horizon. All around you, the lost returned. Not to haunt, to be honored. The sea held them, not as punishment, but as truth. Velhara appeared again. She swam beside you, not as a god, not even as a girl. As a current, you gave it back, she said. What? The story. You nodded. Was that the right thing? She didn't answer, because some questions aren't doors. They're mirrors. She drifted away, and the sea sang. You rose, broke the surface, and found yourself standing not on the island, but on the deck of the Mercy, whole, quiet. No crew, no war, only Nox behind the wheel. She turned slowly. Welcome back. You walked to her. Where are we going? She looked at the horizon. Where we haven't been. You took the helm and steered into memory. Below deck, the library remained, but the books had changed. They didn't bear your name. They bore everyone's. Each spine glittered with words you hadn't written but knew by heart. The stories of those you loved and hated and lost. You reached for one. Braze. It opened to a scene where he cheated at dice, grinning. You laughed, and the page glowed. You and Nox sat together that night, the first true night in what felt like centuries. She watched the stars. You watched her. She said, "You know they're not really stars. What are they? Stories that ended." You lay on your back. "That means we're one too." She nodded. "Not yet." At dawn, land appeared. Not in the distance. Beneath you, the sea parted. revealing a shore lined with lanterns, with people, with stories waiting to be heard. You dropped anchor, stepped off, and the Mercy vanished. Not like a dream, like a promise fulfilled. You walked inland. Each footstep grew roots. The earth remembered you too. You were no longer a sailor, or a prisoner, or a liar. You were something older, something new, a teller, a keeper, the sea's last word. And its next, the land was soft. It cradled your feet as if it had been waiting, soil thick with memory, air warm with silence. It didn't feel like a new place, it felt like an old one rediscovered, one where no flag had ever flown, one that had never needed conquest. Beside you, Nox was barefoot. She let her hands trail through the tall grass like it was water. There was no mercy beneath your feet, no tide behind you. Just the horizon ahead and stories planted like seeds all around. Each tree you passed had a name carved into it. Some you knew. Some you had forgotten. Some had never belonged to this world, but had arrived anyway. The wind sang with whispered chapters. You listened. At the heart of the land stood a ship, but it wasn't floating. It had no sails. Its hull was wrapped in roots. Its masts had bloomed into trees. It had become part of the land grown into it, or perhaps been grown from it. The last ship. That's what Nox called it. It isn't meant to sail, she said. It's meant to remember. You walked up the gangplank. No creak. No sway. Just silence. Inside, a shrine. Not to gods. To crew. Roke's hat, stained with wine. Braze's loaded dice. Flint's blade, snapped in two. A feather from the rat. A sliver of your first mask. Each object placed on a pedestal, simple and unguarded. You stepped closer and realized each one vibrated softly, like a heartbeat or a voice. You leaned in. They spoke. I tried to be good. I only wanted to win. I didn't want to burn. You kept your promise. Thank you. You wept. Not from pain. From being seen. Nox lit a lantern. Not with flame. With breath. It caught the air like a song, glowing blue, then gold, then something older than color. It's time, she said. You turned. Behind you, more figures had gathered. Some were whole. Some flickered. But none were angry. All waited. Tell it, she said. You nodded, and stepped on to the final stage. You began. There was once a ship called the Mercy. The crowd didn't stir. They breathed in rhythm. She was built from the ribs of drowned giants and sailed by the regrets of the living. A murmur through the wind. Agreement. On board were the broken, the bold, and the bound. You looked at them, those who had lived it, and one day she sailed beyond her own story. Nox stepped forward. What did she find? You smiled. The end. The ground shifted. Not violently. Gently. Like a curtain being drawn. The last ship lifted. Not upward. Inward. It folded itself into a story, and the shrine became a page. You stepped back, watched the ink settle, and knew no one would survive a day on a medieval pirate ship, but someone could survive its story and tell it true. You turned to the sea of faces and let them go. Velhara appeared, no longer drifting. She stood, solid, still, smiling. It's done. You nodded. Is it enough? It's more than most ever get. She handed you something small, a ship in a bottle. Inside, the Mercy sailed calm seas. You placed it on the ground and walked away. The land didn't hold you back. It carried you forward. Each step grew softer, the air thinner, until all that was left was voice. You spoke your name again, and this time, it stayed. The last line was written, and still the story lingered. Not as ink, not as blood, as root, as breath, as a map for someone else to follow. Not to survive, to remember.